So I apologize for the long wait once again for this video. In my defense, I was kind of busy becoming a gold medalist. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are finally starting my Medalist mini-series where we're going to take the competitive programs from the beginning of season 2 and we're going to break them down. If this is your first time with the channel, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Hannah and I am a competitive adult figure skater. I started skating around 23 years ago, and while I did recently take about 7 years off where I thought I was done, I recently came back, which was inspired by this show. And now I'm doing things like winning gold medals. I mean, come on. I also coached skating for about 10 years, so I do like to say I know a thing or two about skating. I have reacted to every episode of Medalist, so if you are interested in seeing just my first time reactions to these episodes where I do break a lot of things down, but a lot of it is just a lot of emotions because I connect with the show so much, check out the playlist, I'll put it in my description. But for this particular mini-series, this is more going to be informative and educational. We're going to talk about the scoring system, we're going to talk about the base value. I'm going to only show short clips of the anime so that we can talk about skating specifically. Skating is currently quite popular around the world thanks to the Olympics, so I do think that a lot of people are a little bit more interested in the sport, so why not, make it fun by learning the sport and learning the judging system through anime. So we're gonna dive right in, but before we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. If you are interested in hearing more about my own personal skating journey, please let me know in the comments. As of right now, I'm planning on making a video about that soon, but it's going to be a Patreon exclusive. But I have plans to maybe put it on this channel in case people are super interested in it. So just let me know in the comments if that's a video you would be interested in hearing. I talk about my story, how I started skating, how my skating life was when I was younger, and skating now that I'm an adult. Now, before we dive in, I'd want to do a brief overview on the scoring system within the sport. And there are two halves to a score in figure skating, the technical element score and the program component score. The technical element score is a lot more objective because every single element that a skater does, a jump, a spin, a step sequence, all are assigned a base value based off of its level of difficulty. So the more difficult something is, the more points it's worth. Let's say a skater does a triple axel. The triple axel is worth 8.5 points. That is its base value. But you can then also get extra points by performing it extra well, or you can get less points if you perform it not well. That would be called positive grade of execution, or GOE, or negative grade of execution, or GOE. That part of the scoring system is a little bit more subjective because some judges will give you a +3, some judges will give you a -2. That has actually happened to me before, and you really have to sit there and wonder if they're watching the same thing. But that's going to be one half of your score. The other half is called the program component score. The program component score is a lot more subjective, and it has 3 different categories in it: composition, presentation, and skating skills. And while the official rulebook does have kind of bullet points that they need to hit for grade of execution and in component scores, most judges can't really follow it because they're watching it live. So grade of execution and component scores are very, very subjective. You will have judges give you a 4 and other judges give you a 6 in the same component. So it's really hard to know exactly where you're going and how you can get better because a lot of times the judging is very inconsistent. That is just one of the things that makes this sport so difficult. But if you do a good executed element, you land all your jumps, you land all of them well, so you get the base value of every single jump and then a few extra points, and then you also get good component scores, you have good skating skills, you perform the program well, you take those 2 scores and you put it together, and that is your total segment score. There is a lot more to it, but as a viewer, that's the main thing that you need to be aware of. Okay, but let's go ahead and take a look at our first skater, Sarukawa Rinna. Now keep in mind, they are being scored from the moment they start. No, she is not doing any scored elements right here, but what she's doing here is part of her components. They're looking at her skating skills, they're looking at her performance quality, and they're looking at her composition to the music. So this is a lutz. If you look at, so you can tell by the way that she is going to put her toe pick into the ice to take off. So it will be either a toe loop, a flip, or a lutz. But this one is a lutz because if you look at the way her left foot is leaning, if my thing will go away, but her skate is leaning to the outside of the foot because this is her left leg, so it's leaning to the outside. That's what we call an outside edge. So essentially her ankle is just leaning outside of her body. That is what makes a lutz so difficult because she actually has to counter rotate to be able to rotate because she's rotating. Her foot is like essentially leaning outside of the circle, but she needs to rotate inside the circle. So a lot of skaters really struggle with lutzes. You'll hear a lot of people refer it as a flutz. That means that you take off from an inside edge, which is the incorrect technique. The outside edge is what differentiates a lutz from a flip. So if you take off from an inside edge, you get the base value of a flip. So you have to be very careful. I am a flat edger, which means they always give me the full base value of the lutz, but they put a little exclamation mark on there saying, we couldn't tell what edge she took off from, so I have to get negative grade of execution on it. But this is going to be a lutz based off of her foot leaning to the outside. And then she rotated 3 times. I will say there's sometimes within the show, just because it's animated, I struggle to be able to tell exactly how much rotation they have. Sometimes I've thought it was a triple when it was actually a double. And there is some animation that I've called out where they will have someone do a single jump, but they very much look like they're rotating like it's a double because single jumps rotate very open. You have to pretty much learn how to rotate open on singles because a lot of skaters, the way they're able to do doubles is they just close in. So this one is a triple because he confirms it in the show. A triple lutz is worth 6 points. I would say most judges would be leaning towards giving this a +2. Now, the way grade of execution is determined is a little bit more complicated, so I will try and describe it in the best way that I can. But a judge can award a skater anywhere from +5 to -5. +5 meaning there is no way they could have performed it better, and -5 meaning there is no way they could have performed it worse. If a skater falls, it's an immediate -5 because that is the worst way you can execute a jump. But that does not mean they're deducting just 5 points or 0.5 points off of it. That means they are either deducting 50% of the base value or adding 50% of the base value. And that is only if every single judge is consistent. So for the record, if a skater falls, every single judge is supposed to give them a -5 immediately. So they will immediately have 50% of the base value deducted from their grade of execution. So if she were to fall on that triple lutz and every single judge gave her a -5, she would only get 3 points for that jump. Plus, she gets an extra half point deducted from her total score for the fall. That won't show up in the jump itself. That just shows up at the top or bottom of her protocol, and it just says there was a deduction from the total score. Now, same goes for positive. So if she were to land it perfectly, she put her arms over her head, she had good height, good speed, and every single judge was like, that was the best triple lutz I've ever seen. She cannot perform it better than that. And every single one of them assigns her a +5. Then she's getting 3 points added to her grade of execution. So she is now getting 9 points for that element. In the world of figure skating, because a lot of these women are doing the same program, essentially, like most of them have very similar layouts, that is what sets the winners apart from the not winners, is are they doing every single element really freaking well? Because if they're doing them all super well, they're getting all these extra little points here and there, and those add up very quick. And if you are catching the fact that 5 is 50%, it's pretty easy to tell that a 4 would be 40%, either positive or negative. A 3 would be 30%, either positive or negative, and so on. So in this case, I said that they would probably give her a +2. I'm going to just say every single judge gave her a +2. It had good speed, it had good height, it had good rhythm. It did not look labored. It kind of came out of some steps. It looked pretty good. It just wasn't like special or anything like that. So usually they find themselves in a +2 range. That would mean she gets 20% of her base value added on. 20% of 6 points would be 1.2 points. So she would get a total of 7.2 points for this element. It's a big point getter right off the bat. And this is going to be a triple sow. So on this one, she is not putting her toe in to launch off. She's actually launching off of her left skate here, and there will be a little bit of toe pick assist on a salchow, but this is what we call an edge jump. So there's 2 edge jumps, salchow and loop, 3 toe jumps, toe loop, flip, and lutz, and then there's the axel, which is technically an edge jump, but it's a little bit different because the axel takes off forward. An edge jump is where you do not use the toe pick to launch yourself. Toe jumps are where you use your toe pick to launch yourself. Pretty straightforward. This one you can tell is a salchow because, as you can see with her feet, she is launching off of her left foot. This right foot is kind of touching the ice, but it's gonna kind of just pull through. I'm gonna play it and show you. She's on her left foot, and her right foot just came around and helped her rotate. So that is a salchow. The salchow is the second easiest jump as assigned by the base value, and it is worth 4.2 points. So a big difference between a lutz and a salchow, especially on the triple side. When you get to singles, it gets a little bit closer because single is only worth like a very small amount of points. So this salchow is worth 4.2 points because it is a triple. And again, I would say let's give it a +2, so 4.92 points. So she just did a flying sit spin into what we call here a Frediani. It's also called like a cannonball, a couple of different things. What's important to note is in the system, this will be a sit spin, a flying sit spin, and all of the variations that have names, it does not matter what you call it because that's not in the system. What matters is that she's doing a front variation of a sit spin where her nose is pretty much touching her knee. So that will be a level 1, and they didn't show any of the rest of the spin. So spins are a little bit different than jumps because you do, in their case, 2 spins. I do 3, and I hate it. I hate spinning with a passion. It is, if I could never spin, I would. Problem is, spins are worth so many points at my level. They're worth more than the jumps, so I have to do them well. But spins are a little bit different because their level of difficulty is based off of the variations that I just called out. So the variation she did there was she did a sit front where she put her nose to her knee. That makes it not a basic sit where you just kind of sit in a pistol squat. She did a variation that makes it more difficult, so she gets a level 1. They didn't show the rest of the spin. She could have held that for 8 rotations. If she held it for 8 rotations, that would be another level. If she switched to a different position where her leg was out to the side or maybe behind, that would be another variation to get another level. She could have done a difficult exit where she did a knee slide or something like that, but I didn't see any of that. So I'm gonna call it like it is. I'm gonna call this a level 1 flying sit spin, and that is going to be worth 2 points. And again, I'm just kind of doing a pretty average. This is where my score is probably going to differ from the score in the show because I'm just kind of saying a blanket. Everyone gave her a +2. That doesn't really happen. But a flying sit spin level 1 is worth 2 points. We're going to give her 2s across the board, so an extra 0.4, I believe. Spins are incredibly important at lower levels because my jumps are all singles and a couple doubles. So they're worth, like the highest jump I do is worth like 1.8 points, and it's my combo. The highest spin I do is worth 3 points. So spins are very, very important at my level. So he is talking about doing the difficult elements at the beginning so that you have the highest chance of landing them, but you get more points. You get a 10% bonus for the last, in their case, 2 jumps in their program that are after the halfway mark. So a lot of people strategize actually doing the hardest jumps at the end because you get the bonus, but you have to be very careful because if you're tired and you miss, then you're really screwing yourself over. That happened to Kaori Sakamoto at the Olympics. Okay, so that was a triple salchow. So you can tell that it's a salchow. She does a little turn, so she starts on her left foot, she turns, and then she just launches herself off. Her right foot does look like it kind of touches the ice, but it doesn't launch by picking. And then she fell. So for the higher levels, I believe they do this for me too. So I'm going to say they probably do this for her. She's already done a solo triple salchow. She just did another solo triple salchow and fell. You are not allowed to repeat the same jump twice. If you are going to repeat a jump, you must put it in combination. And this is what happened to Kaori Sakamoto. I just mentioned it. So a lot of people were confused why she ended up losing for, it looked like she just kind of leaned forward. It wasn't a big mistake. But what happened was she did a solo triple flip earlier in her program, and then she was planning her big combo, her triple flip, triple toe combo. After the halfway mark to get the extra points, she landed a little bit forwards. She didn't do anything off of it. So she ended up doing just another triple flip by itself. Well, you can't do that. She could have added a single toe loop so that she didn't get more points docked, because she's already missed out on points because she didn't do her big combo. But she missed out on more points because since it was another solo triple flip, she got a big plus REP, not RIP, it stands for repeat, and you get 70% of your base value. So a triple, in this case, she did another triple sal, which is worth 4.2 points. The base value goes down to 2.94. It's not very pleasant. And then she only gets 50% because she fell. And like I said, every single judge must give her a -5 now. So she only gets 1.47 points. So that's a pretty big loss there. And then she fell. So she gets a 0.5 deduction from her total score. So that's a pretty big mistake there. And I don't think this is supposed to be the second half yet. Now this looks like her step sequence, so she's doing a series of turns. I don't really know the rules for Novice A in Japan, but in my level we do just a choreographic step sequence. So I'm just gonna say she's doing a choreo sequence that's worth 2 points, and we'll give it +2s. I'm kind of averaging out there, we'll give it +2s. So she gets another 2.40 points. Double flip, double toe, double loop with her arm down. So let's go back again. So you can tell this is a flip, very similar to the lutz. Notice how similar that looks. Her right foot is clearly up in the air, ready to pick into the ice to launch her. She's stretching out before she launches. But if you look at her left foot, so there's her right foot went in, so it's picking to make it a toe jump. Her left foot is now leaning to the inside. Remember how on the lutz it was leaning outside of her body? Now it's leaning inside towards her other foot. This is exceptionally easier than the outside edge because she is already leaning into the circle to rotate into the circle instead of having to counter her weight for lutz. That's why a flip is considered to be quite a bit easier than a lutz. So this is what we call a combination. As I said earlier, you have to put it in direct sequence with each other. So she lands the double flip. She's on her right foot. She just landed on her right foot. Her left foot now picks to do a double toe loop. So there we got our double flip. She lands on her right foot. That left foot immediately comes around. She does a double toe loop. And now she's doing a double loop off of that. As you can see, she's standing on her right foot. So you always land on the same foot except for one jump called the Euler, which we're going to talk about at a later time. This one, she lands on her right foot. She's going to just jump. She doesn't get the opportunity to use her free leg to assist on this one. It makes it very difficult as a combo because you have to land that toe loop perfectly. Double flip, double toe loop, double loop, and then she put her hand down. So what we're going to do here, she's done 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So technically this would still not be getting the bonus because you can only get it for the last 2 jumps of your program when you have 6 jumping passes. So 4.9, but she put her hand down. So most judges are going to give that a -3. So we're going to do 30% of 4.9, 3.43 points. So again, lost out. So now she got through 4 jumping passes, so her next 2 should have a 10% bonus. This is taking a lot longer than I was expecting, so I think I'm only going to do her. We got a double axel. So axel is the easiest one to tell apart from everything else because she's going to set up going backwards. She's going to step forwards. Again, axel is the only jump where we take off stepping forward. And that means we get an extra half rotation because every single jump you always land backwards. You cannot land a jump going forward. Every single jump takes off backwards as well, except for the axel. So there's that extra half rotation. So that's a double axel. A double axel is worth 3.3 points, but we get an extra 10% because we are now in the bonus period. 3.63, and then I would give her +2s once again, which would be 20% of that, 0.02, so 3.83. Okay, she has one more jump to go and one more spin to go. She already did a flying spin, so her next one can't be a flying spin. It'll have a regular entry. So this is a camel spin. A camel spin is the one where there's pretty much, they look like the L, right? So their leg is straight out behind them, but she's doing a variation here by twisting her body. So this is called a layover. It's just a variation of a camel spin. And she also, it looked like she was spinning on a forward inside edge. So if you look very closely at the foot she is spinning on, so this foot, it's going forward in a circle, leaning to the inside of the skate, forward inside edge. Back spins don't naturally rotate that way. You're actually spinning like more on a backward outside edge. So your blade should be going kind of backwards and to the outside of the blade. So a forward inside edge on a spin is actually going to be a variation. It's a little bit difficult to explain. You spin on both feet. When you are right-handed and you're spinning counterclockwise, if you're spinning on your left foot, you're considered to be doing a forward spin. If you're spinning on your right foot, you're considered to be doing a backward spin. But all of it is technically rotating backwards if you look very closely at the foot. They just call it a forward and backward spin to make it easy. It depends on the edge that you're on. A forward scratch, forward sit, forward camel all rotate on a backward inside edge. A back spin, a back camel, a back sit, all rotate on a back outside edge. Again, it depends on what part of the skate you're leaning on. In this case, she switched to rotate forward on an inside edge on that camel spin. So she's now at a level 2. And I believe she changed feet and she's doing a what we call broken leg. This is my personal favorite spin. It is the spin I get good levels on and good grade of execution on no matter when I compete because I'm really good at it. She has her leg out to the side. She has her arm up. That doesn't really add anything, but like it looks nice, but we are now at a level 3. And this would also be a combo spin because we have now seen her do a camel spin. She changed feet and is now in a sit spin. So she's done 2 different basic spins. There's 3 basic spins. There's an upright, camel, and sit spin. As soon as you do more than one, that is a combo spin. Whether you change feet or not, that just changes if you do a combo spin with no change of foot or a combo spin with change of foot. But as soon as you do more than one basic position, you now have to do all 3. Otherwise, you get docked. So she's done her camel spin, she's done her sit spin, and she's doing now just a basic scratch spin to get her upright. So she gets full base value, but that scratch spin is considered a basic position because it's very easy. It's like the first thing we learn when we spin outside of a 2-foot spin. So that I would call a level 3 because again, we did the layover, we went on a forward inside edge, and we did a sit variation with the broken leg. That's a side sit variation. So I call that a level 3, but once again, I'm not saying if she did anything for more than 8 rotations. That's kind of harder to tell within the scoring system or within the anime. Change foot combo, spin 3, which is worth 3 points. Spins don't get any added bonus for doing it after the halfway mark because they're not as hard to do. It's only jumps that get bonus. So I would give that, I'm just going to once again, for consistency purposes, give that a 2. 20% of that would be 0.6. So we'll give it 3.6 points. Okay, so this changes things a little bit. This is what makes it sometimes a bit difficult, and I am going to have to stop after this. I think there's going to be a succession of a bunch of different programs, so that'll be for the next one. But this is what makes it a little bit difficult. We specifically broke that down and only saw 5 jumps, but they just mentioned that they get 6. We only saw 1 combo, and we didn't see a 6th jumping pass, which means they just chose to not show it. So that means that in order for me to score this, well, I can't really score it now because we're missing an entire jump. And that also means that there could have been a different jump that was after the halfway mark. So that's what makes it a little bit more difficult for me to rescore something like this, is because since it's like a show, they're not choosing to show every single thing that they did. So there's a breakdown of her score. But if you want a better breakdown, if you have any questions of clarity, I tried to break things down as much as I could with this. Let me know in the comments. I would love to do some more informative videos just about skating in general. So once again, if you're interested in that, definitely join my Patreon because it'll definitely go there. But if I do have enough people interested in it who are just on my YouTube, I might bring it here. It kind of is difficult because I talk a lot about anime. So I worry that like doing something so completely different from anime, not many people will be too interested in it, but who knows. So that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next one. Mata ne!